Would anybody on Social Security that owns a house ever want to file Chapter 7? And the answer is not unless they would want, keywords there, unless they would want a Chapter 7 trustee to sell the house. Because in most cases right now, Chapter 7 trustees are very quick to sell people's homes because right now equity is so high for most people that we don't have enough exemption under Georgia law to protect it all. And, one of the key points I always want to stress to people who are considering Chapter 7 is once you file it, you can't get out.
Welcome to the Bankruptcy Podcast, a podcast about untangling the complex world of bankruptcy in Georgia. Each week, we deliver the best insights and practical advice on how to navigate the legal waters of bankruptcy with expert guidance and real-life stories. Now here's your host, Jeff Kelly.
Hello, this is Jeff Kelly, and in today's video, I want to talk about should somebody who owns a house and they're on Social Security, should this person file a Chapter 13 or a Chapter 7? And the answer to all legal questions is, it depends. So, as a general rule, I tell people, hey, if Social Security is your only source of income, don't file Chapter 13 or Chapter 7. Why would I tell somebody that? Well, because as a general rule, your Social Security cannot be touched by your creditors. You want to make sure it's going into a bank account that is Social Security money only, and it does have a protective status in the state of Georgia. So, but what if they own a house? That could be tricky. There might be some other things going on here. So let's go over some hypotheticals, okay? So hypothetically, let's say somebody has a house that's worth $100,000 and it's paid for, and they've got Social Security and some creditors coming after them for, let's just make up something, let's say $10,000. It might be a wise decision for this person to file a Chapter 13 to pay that debt back over time, because if they don't, the creditor is going to put a lien on the property. And a lot of people say, oh, well, I know credit card companies can't do anything to my house, right? That's wrong. Credit card companies can sue you, and they can put, 5A's judgments against your house. So, don't ignore that. If it does get ignored, then that judgment, it just grows and grows and grows every year, and it just builds and builds and builds, and it just eats and eats and eats away at the equity of your property. So in that situation, a manageable debt, manageable payment, you would want to file a Chapter 13 for somebody who owns a house. Would anybody on Social Security that owns a house ever want to file Chapter 7? And the answer is not unless they would want, keywords there, unless they would want a Chapter 7 trustee to sell the house. Because in most cases right now, Chapter 7 trustees are very quick to sell people's homes because right now equity is so high for most people that we don't have enough exemption under Georgia law to protect it all. And one of the key points I always want to stress to people who are considering Chapter 7 is once you file it, you can't get out. So if you file your Chapter 7 case and you say, oh, my house is only worth X amount of dollars, and it turns out it's worth double or whatever, if it's worth any amount that a trustee can pay you the exemption, sell it and pay money to your creditors, it's gone. You can't back out of it. So I do not like filing Chapter 7 cases for people who are on Social Security that own a home, because they're going to lose that home way more than likely than not. Now, let me change up the facts here. Every now and then we'll have somebody come in and they're on Social Security. They're able to make their mortgage payments just fine. And then their spouse passes away. Darn, it's part of life. It happens. But what also goes away is that spouse's contribution to the mortgage payment. And so if somebody on Social Security is, struggling because they've got a really high mortgage payment, they can't afford to pay anymore, and if the mortgage company is about to foreclose, in that case, it might, keywords, might make sense to file a Chapter 7 stop the foreclosure, and let the trustee sell the house to pay off the mortgage and hopefully recover some amount of equity that would eventually go to the person filing. But even in that situation, most realtors can move a house fairly quickly. And, it would be better to sell the house privately. You're going to get more money for it probably than to file a Chapter 7 because you're going to pay a significant amount of money in attorney's fees to the Chapter 7 trustee who's going to have to conduct that sale. There's a lot of stuff involved in that. So, as a general rule, again, we don't do that, but there might be some extenuating circumstances where somebody does need to file a Chapter 7 to stop a foreclosure and let the trustee sell the asset to stop the foreclosure. Because if you screw around too long and the house does get foreclosed, it's gone and all your equity with it, just poof, up in smoke. It's heartbreaking when I see it, but every now and then we see somebody who just screws around doing everything under the sun, trying not to file bankruptcy because they think bankruptcy is bad. It's laws that are designed to protect you and they're designed to help you. There's nothing bad about it. And they screw around and they let the house get foreclosed. And I've seen people lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, once it's foreclosed, unless, people come in with this misconception that, well, I know my house is foreclosed, but now I can file and get it back, right? No, that's not true. No, once that house is foreclosed, it's gone. So don't call me if your house has been foreclosed. I can't do anything. If it's a tax sale, you do have 1 year to redeem it, and that's a totally different situation than a regular out and out foreclosure.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. If you're intrigued by the world of bankruptcy and want a comprehensive guide to help you get out of debt, head on over to kellycanhelp.com/welcome and subscribe to our email list to have a guide to bankruptcy in Georgia, helping people get out of debt delivered right to your inbox. Now back to the show.
But again, as a general rule, I don't like putting Social Security recipients who own a home in a Chapter 7. I don't like it. I'd rather not do it. It would have to be an extreme case for us to do that. Another reason that I don't like filing Chapter 7 for people who have Social Security as their sole source of income is because when you file, you're giving a Chapter 7 trustee powers that they currently don't have. And the reason that's, let me give it a situation where it's probably not a good idea for somebody to file. Well, first of all, Social Security, again, it's a protected stream of income. So for most people, they can just ignore their creditors, don't answer the phone, let them sue, let them get all their judgments. If you don't have any, real estate for them to put liens on, there's really nothing they can do. Your judgment proof. But when you file, the trustee gets to start asking you about assets. And a lot of people forget about certain kinds of assets that the trustee does not forget. And let me give you an example. I had a guy many, many years ago, and he came to see me to file Chapter 7. I told him, don't file. This is not good for you. And he's like, I just want to stop the phone calls. I want to stop the lawsuits. I want to stop the harassment. I just want to know that it's all gone and gone away. And I'm willing to pay you to do a Chapter 7 to wipe this out and just give me a fresh, clean start and just relieve the stress. That's acceptable. You can do that. And I will file your case if that's how you feel. And we did. And he forgot about his universal life insurance policy that he had been paying on forever. And, it was like, oh no, it was worth some money. He really would have been better off not filing Chapter 7 and cashing out that universal policy himself and having some fun with it. But we had to give it all to the trustee and pay toward creditors. So I totally understand when somebody wants to get rid of the stress, they want to put something behind them. I'll do it. But again, as a general rule, I don't think it's the best idea in the world. But listen, if you have any questions, you can give us a call, 770-881-8449. My staff's happy to sit down with you and evaluate your situation. But as a general rule, not a good idea. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Bankruptcy Podcast. Make sure to visit our website, kellybankruptcy.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Spotify, or via RSS so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you liked this show, you might want to check out our guide to bankruptcy in Georgia, helping people get out of debt. Available at kellycanhelp.com/welcome. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode.